Return of the Mount Hua Sect. Chapter 284. Life is inherently unfair. By like me? In what way? Personality? How you don't have a drop of the thing called talent? You two are very similar in that way. You bastard! Chongmyung smiled. He was timid. No, more like stingy and small-minded. He had perseverance, but no talent for the sword. Or rather, his talent couldn't keep up with his perseverance. Yeah, just like Sasuke. And he was part of a martial arts sect. As you know, such places are filled with people busy trying to show off their own power. As a result, he was often hit by a Sahyong who had a lively personality. It wasn't bullying, though. It's not because he's from a martial sect. It's just that Sahyong of his was a rude bastard, isn't it? You bastard! Huh? Nothing. For some reason, it felt like Chongmyung was trembling with anger. But Baeksang, not understanding why, tilted his head. Anyway, Chongmyung sighed, coughed, and continued. That's what it means to lack talent. You put in the same time and effort, but everyone else pulls ahead, and only you keep falling behind. So he felt something like that too, did he? Baeksang nodded his head. This was what he was feeling right now. It wasn't a sense of despair. He felt nothing but clear emptiness and deep regret. He was born with a weak body, and he had to understand the concepts that others understood with their bodies, only with his head. If it were a normal person, they would have given up on it. So what do you think he did? He tried to keep up, so much that he was walking along the edge of death. No. Chongmyung shook his head. He just survived. Hundreds of days, thousands of days, for 10,000 days, for all those countless hours and days doing what he had done, just standing there silently practicing. And as the decades passed, no one ignored him. Because we were all one, united in goal. And soon, he became the most important person in the sect. Baeksang rolled his eyes. Even if he wasn't strong? Why do you have to be strong? Chongmyung shook his head. I am not saying that Sasuke should give up on being strong, but strength isn't the only thing that makes someone useful. Is Elder Hyunyong useless? Is he unneeded? No. Right, exactly. So why does Sasuke think that way? Baeksang bit his lip. Seeing him like that, Chongmyung had a subtle look. Can I tell you something nice? Everyone has a different set of talents, so if you keep working hard, maybe one day you will overtake the others who seem to be full of skill and talent. Sasuke is the late bloomer type. Really? Nope. This bastard! Baeksang was getting angry, but Chongmyung had shrugged away his reaction. I told you, I will say something nice, but I never said that it would be true. Does it even matter? Everyone in the Gangho wants to become the best, the strongest, yet most people would never be able to touch that title. Does that make their lives not worthwhile? Chongmyung shook his head. It isn't that either. Chongmyung looked at the night sky. Right? He remembered his Saje, Chongjin. Sahyong, I cannot be as strong as you. Not just you, Sahyong, but I'm weak compared to the other Sahyongs too. But just because I am not strong doesn't mean I'm an insignificant being within Mount Hua. I will become the person that Mount Hua needs more than anyone. What? I couldn't hear well since a weak person was talking. You son of a... I remembered it wrong. Chongmyung smiled bitterly. Actually, Chongjin had proven his words. He had delved into the martial arts of Mount Hua and reached a level beyond lucid understanding. Of course, his body had failed to keep up with it, but throughout the history of Mount Hua, there was no pillar stronger than Chongjin. If Chongmyung could go back to the past and save just one of those disciples, he would choose Chongjin. Huh? Sect Leader Sahyong? That, I don't have much use for that guy. Yeah, you. Ah, I said don't come out. Chongmyung shook his head. Before the final battle, Chongjin had disappeared from the battlefield and had never returned. Mount Hua would have looked different from today if Chongjin was alive. A person's goals are bound to change over the course of their life. What are Sasuk's goals? Are you going to become the strongest person in the world? Or will you become a pioneer and become the first person to accomplish something? Baeksang sighed as he understood what Chongmyung was saying. But Chongmyung, yes? Isn't that something only you get to say? Because you are achieving your goal. Can you understand this heart of mine? No, Sasuk. Huh? Chongmyung raised his head and looked at the sky. I am not close to my goal. Chongmyung looked up as he closed his eyes. He still dreamt of it, a never-ending dream of beating the heads of the demonic sect and returning to Mount Hua with the Sahyongs. Sometimes he would be beaten by sect leader Sahyong. Sometimes he would fight with his sajes as a group and then drink a lot, laugh, talk, this and that. Just one of the many goals was best in the world. That was a funny wish. What he truly longed for, what he really wanted, was to return to Mount Hua and live and die as the idiot he was in the past, with his Sahyongs he spent all his life with. Yet, his goal had never been accomplished. What remained was nothing but a lonely hole in his heart and spirit. So what about it? I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I couldn't do what I should have done. So what does that mean? Should I stretch out my hands and give up on everything? Baeksang went silent. It wasn't what Chongmyung said to him, but his own self. It was hard to understand, but he could feel the meaning. People still have to live. If something broke, it only needed to be built up again. If you fail, then try again. Still, if you could not accomplish your goals, then you have no other option but to realize you couldn't do it and live. That was life. Chongmyung looked up at the night sky, and Baeksang couldn't say anything as the atmosphere felt heavy. Why does it feel so heavy? There was no part in Chongmyung's life that seemed so troublesome, but now Baeksang was feeling something strange. He honestly didn't know why it felt this heavy, but Baeksang knew best that his current feelings couldn't be expressed by a few words, empty words that couldn't fill up a sail. But I feel more at ease. Was it because he was drunk? If not, Chongmyung. Baeksang looked at him and said, I will ask you one thing. What? Am I someone you need to build your ideal version of Mount Hua? Chongmyung frowned as he tilted his head and said, To put it like that, well, you could say so. What, you brat? No, did this guy always have to break down such a nice atmosphere? You could have just said yes. Sasuk. Huh? You are family, a comrade who I need with me. It doesn't matter if Sasuk is useless at something. As long as Sasuk considers himself a member of Mount Hua, he will always be my Sasuk. Doesn't that work? Baeksang smiled sadly. I didn't expect such an answer. He wanted to say it was needed, but all you can get from a shallow answer is just a moment's comfort. All right, if that's the case, fine. Baeksang took another sip from his bottle. He didn't feel good, but he felt comfortable. Amidst those strange emotions, Baeksang looked at Chongmyung. He was truly a strange one. Sometimes it felt like he could cause foolish things that would never happen in the world again. And sometimes it felt like there was so much depth to him that the bottom could never be measured. Unpredictable. So Baeksang didn't like Chongmyung. because no person could like someone who was too different from themselves. But strangely, he didn't hate this version of Chongmyung. Chongmyung, will manhwa get stronger? Of course. Then, will there be a place for me in the manhwa you create? You're saying stupid things again. Chongmyung smiled. Self-reliance is what will make manhwa stronger, and you should be ready to take your place. I see. My place. Baeksang nodded his head. Right. I understand. Chongmyung glanced at Baeksang, who was nodding his head. Right. I understand. As if he had decided something, his face showed a subtle firmness. The hesitation that had been there a while back had vanished. A smile crept onto his lips. One more bottle? No. Baeksang shook his head. I don't know about you, but I am not confident about deceiving people's eyes if I have 2 bottles. And the sun will be up soon. I need to head inside. What a waste. I am not saying we should both stop. Drink and go in without being caught. You're not going to tell on me? I'm not that disloyal, you brat. Baeksang got up and headed forward, just as Chongmyung took out another bottle and opened the stopper. Chongmyung. Huh? Baeksang looked back and said, Thank you, you bastard of a sajil. He smiled and waved his hand as he began to run forward. Chongmyung watched him run ahead, then laid down and looked up at the sky. Aigo, Sect Leader Sayong, there's so much to do. How did Sayong manage to do all of this in the past? It wouldn't have been difficult if not for you. You! I mean, you could have told me. I was already regretting it a little. I should have listened more. Chongmyung smiled quietly. Still, it was good, wasn't it? It was fun back then. And Chongmyung closed his eyes. The current manhwa made him feel proud. A very nice sect leader and elders who all live for the sake of their disciples. The strict but good-natured first-class disciples and the Baek and Chong disciples were somewhat lacking but very kind. It was good. He was so fond of the current manhwa. But Sayong, he would miss it so much once in a while. The time he couldn't return to. Don't make fun of me for being weaker than before. Don't accuse me of being arrogant. At least Sayong gets to stay with the Sajes. Over there. I should have followed along. I know, Sayong. I have to do this. I need to make manhwa strong again. That way, my Sayongs and Sajes won't be sad. This is my responsibility. Chongmyung reached out and grabbed the bottle. But once in a while, he took a sip of the drink and closed his eyes. The scent spread through his mouth. Sometimes, I just want to be silly. I mean, you understand, right? He could remember it when he closed his eyes. His Sayong would scream in front of him, Chongjin being unable to hold in his laughter. All the while, Chonggong would mutter something in the corner. And the Sajes, who were constantly talking. Even as he drank under the moon, he wasn't getting drunk and kept feeling lonely. Until the sun came up, Chongmyung drank while looking at the sky.